Benvinguts, bienvenidas. Welcome to the UN Ocean Decade Conference. I have the privilege today to introduce you to not one, but two fantastic panel discussions to explore the state of ocean innovation, of the ocean innovation ecosystem for climate solutions internationally, the collective push for what we call a climate-positive blue economy. I am Leonardo Valenzuela Perez, and I'm the director of international partnerships for Ocean Visions, and also director of the Global Ecosystem for Ocean Solutions, a UN Ocean Decade program. Ocean Visions is a non-profit organization that catalyzes innovation at the intersection of the ocean and climate crisis. We facilitate multi-sector collaborations to explore and advance responsible and effective ocean-based climate solutions. Ocean Vision's work is focused on the nexus of the ocean and climate crisis and is grounded on the clear evidence that if we do not stop, and ultimately reverse the damage caused to the ocean, other conservation measures will be ineffective at addressing the cascade of impacts from the increasing thermal and chemical stress in the ocean. To address the ocean climate crisis, we have a four-part agenda focused on ocean-based pathways to replace CO2 emissions involving key products and services needed by humanity, what we call our reduce agenda. We have also an agenda focused on ocean-based pathways to remove the legacy emissions that will otherwise continue to exacerbate the stress to the ocean, that's removals, and repairing and regenerating key parts of the ocean and the cryosphere systems that are vital for a functioning Earth system and a stable climate. That's our repair agenda. And finally, we have a four pillar, which is focused on engaging a wider range of people, countries, disciplines, and sectors in the race to develop innovations and frameworks to advance ocean climate solutions. The Global Ecosystem for Ocean Solutions is part of this agenda and has a focus on accelerating collaborations across multiple sectors and geographies to help build a globally distributed community of diverse sectors, interests, and geographies working to deliver effective and durable global ocean-based solutions. GEOS has currently 12 projects endorsed. I don't have the clicker. Sorry, I need the next slide for this. I just realized this. So as I was saying, we currently have 12 projects endorsed by the UN Ocean Decade, and we are expecting to close 2024 with 25 projects. And yes, so this is a perspective of where the projects are located right now. And so we're probably going to be one of the largest programs of the UN Ocean Decade by the end of this process. And this is spread across 21 countries and 5 continents. And today I have the honor of introducing some of our GEOS partners. And during the first panel, we will have a conversation about, this is the agenda, about the current international landscape of ocean climate innovation, with leaders from established initiatives who will share their experiences shaping that emergent field. And the second panel will be focused on the work of GEOS Ocean Climate Innovation Hubs, which are locally led platforms that are embarked on the mission of expanding the field of ocean climate solutions in areas of high potential. But before we start with the panels, we have a special guest who generously agreed to carve some space in her hectic agenda to be here this morning with us. She is the former Costa Rican Deputy Minister for Water and Ocean, and now is the Director of Ocean Action 2030 at the High-Level Panel for a Sustainable Ocean Economy, where she is leading a coalition to support countries technically and financially in their pursuit of sustainable ocean economies. So let's welcome Cynthia Barzuna.
Gracias, Leonardo. Buenos días. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to address this very important initiative that you're carrying on. It is with great pleasure that I intend to kind of set the scene for a great discussion that you're going to have that unfortunately I'm going to miss, but I will follow. And because I do believe in capacity building, knowledge sharing, the connection, and innovation in the center of this agenda makes, of course, all the sense, and it's very much needed for the ocean. So I will start to say that basically today, of course, there's a clear purpose for this gathering today in about the pressing challenges posed by climate change to erosion and to explore innovation solutions that transcends borders, that helps coastal communities, that includes all the stakeholders. So we're talking about inclusive processes, we're talking about equity, and we're also talking about blue jobs and the connection with people and of course the well-being, but also what's the benefit of conservation, what's the benefit of the sustainable use of the ocean. In that sense, as Leonardo mentioned, in 2018, a group of very courageous world leaders around the world decided to create the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy. This high-level panel is made of world leaders, serving world leaders that decided to understand the status of the ocean. By doing so, they created and commissioned basically one of the first reports that led into the transformations agenda. I invite you to visit the webpage of the Ocean Panel, tons of information there. And probably most of you, or some of you, are part of those group of experts that have kindly worked towards delivering the right solutions and also to frame the right approach in terms of using the ocean as an ally to tackle climate change. Since 2018, the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy has been very, very busy, to say the least. So one of the things that, as of today, I think there's more than 20 blue papers already from a network of 350 expert scientists around the world. It's very gender balanced, but also in terms of geography also includes several experts from around the world. And together, one of the first things that they discovered very quickly was 74 challenges, and at the core of their agenda, of their ocean action agenda, they decided to embark into developing and implementing sustainable ocean plans. So in 2020, the members of the Ocean Panel made the commitment to sustainably manage 100% of their coastal areas under national jurisdiction, and to create that holistic approach very much needed for the ocean, making the connections between land and sea, making the connections between conservation, but also sustainable uses of the ocean. By doing so, they committed to deliver the 14 founding members of the high-level panel. They committed to delivering by 2025. So in government years and having worked for the Costa Rican government, we'll know that's just a very short term and a very difficult task to accomplish. So it was a huge commitment from these Ocean Panel members. Other members joined afterwards and have committed to deliver on their own sustainable ocean plans by 2030. So you would probably ask, why am I speaking about the Ocean Panel and what's the connection with the coalition that I lead? Well, the coalition is kind of a baby that was born out of the Ocean Panel. Why? Because soon enough, some of the members of the countries of the panel, like Kenya, for example, which is part of the Ocean Panel, and some other members decided that they needed technical and financial support to develop and implement their sustainable ocean plans. So the coalition is now made of 19 members, soon to be 20. So we have both technical and financial supporters in the coalition, from development banks, from members like Jeff, like several NGOs, bring in all the financial and technical assistance needed to develop and implement sustainable ocean plans. And what are sustainable ocean plans? Well, sustainable ocean plans basically are a large or big umbrella under which policy making, governance, it's basically a tool that serves these countries to develop all the solutions needed, ocean-based solutions. They're ecosystem-based, they're place-based, they're custom-made to each reality of the countries. So it helps with the conflicts of the use of the ocean as well. And it sets the tone for all the actions needed. As you know, the high-level panel recently launched a report, which is an update on the previous report on the ocean climate nexus. In it, one of the major headlines, and probably you've heard from this at COP28, was basically that there's a potential of a reduction in the emissions, in the greenhouse gases emissions of 35%. Based on the ocean. So the ocean is clearly an ally. It's clearly the way to think not only to the future but to the present on solutions based on the ocean and how we can tackle climate change, but also biodiversity loss. So there's a lost linkage maybe between the different international frameworks that needs to happen and needs to happen now. And by that I mean sustainable ocean plans could serve as a tool for the MBSAPs, could serve as a tool as for the national adaptation plans, and also for the NDCs. So, as you know, the ocean has not been very present at the UNFCCC discussions till lately. Now we have a recurrent dialogue, and this ocean climate dialogue it's starting to take form and shape into something that will be very useful. So when you think of it, there has to be a clear connection between the different international frameworks and how can we not work in silos and work towards solutions based on nature and considering green and blue and the transition also between green and blue, and also considering what happens from source to sea. So either we're talking about plastic pollution, either we're talking about food security based on the ocean, marine renewable energies. So if some of the topics that the Ocean Panel has been focusing on are sustainable tourism, sustainable fisheries, renewable energies, marine renewable energies, and for that we need innovation. And for that we need the innovations that will come from the hub, that will come from different groups to understand what's needed, to implement a systemic and dynamic process that will transcend governments. That is also key to understanding all the actions that we need to do. Coming from my previous job, I do realize that in Costa Rica is just 4 years, so in a 4-year term, there's so much you can do. But if you include all the stakeholders, if you think of an inclusive process, then you can actually deliver on the solutions that you need. I'm conscious of time, so I will just would like to add to everything that I have discussed today that if there's interest in learning more about Ocean Action, just please oceanpanel.org. You'll find us there, and you'll find all the information from Ocean Action 2030 as well. We have been working we have been working with, as you know, the COP presidency recognized the value of sustainable ocean plans very recently as a crucial vehicle for accelerating climate action and all the pivotal work that needs to be done, realizing the ocean breakthroughs as well, encompassing various ocean-based climate solutions. So collaboration with the COP at COP28 with the presidency elevated the importance of a 100% sustainable ocean management goal through sustainable ocean plans to achieve the use of the ocean in the context of climate action and ecological preservation. For that, countries from the Ocean Panel, the 18 countries, submitted a joint declaration. The OAS Secretariat also supported this declaration. So we're now working with the OES countries as well to deliver on the actions needed to tackle climate change, biodiversity loss, and also to bring it all together with the SDG 14, of course, and the relationship with SDG 17. But of course, there's also the new global biodiversity framework, and I could refer to target 1 about planning. So there's a lot of connecting the dots that needs to be done, and bridging science to policy. Well, I think this is a good example of country-led solutions that bridges that science to policy, that delivers on the right approach. And for it, we need to develop a very urgent, inclusive, and equitable sustainable ocean economy. So together, through collaboration, innovation, and of course, all these collective efforts could bring us from science to policy. We are about to launch a knowledge platform where we would like to share all of these opportunities and all of the lessons learned. Think about capacity building. Think about what's needed for practitioners to actually deliver on these actions, and also to track progress towards this goal. So if it serves as an example for today's discussion, I really appreciate this invitation. I really hope to stay for the whole session, but thank you for this invitation, and let's keep this conversation going, because I think there's lots there to cover, and more than happy to engage with each of you in this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cynthia. And as Cynthia mentioned, just go to oceanpanel.org. There is many opportunities, and in particular for those who represent organizations here who are interested in joining the coalition. That's a great mechanism to support governments and to support different scales for ocean innovation. So, having said that, now we will go into the panel. Unfortunately, one of the panelists hasn't arrived yet. I think he got delayed at the airport, so he might join in the middle of the discussion. But for now, this is the state of the global ocean ecosystem, global ocean climate innovation ecosystem. So the purpose here is to talk to some leaders who are already established in this sector, even though we're talking about some things that are very early stage. The idea is to bring these experiences as a way to reflect on what has been done until now, and what are some of the opportunities and some level of advice that come from this experience. So I will call to stage, and I will give them a color to each of you. So first, Dr. Emanuele Di Lorenzo, professor at Brown University, who will take the blue chair. Sorry, the orange chair. Sorry. Then I'll invite Samantha Dean, founding director of Kelp Forest Foundation, who can pick between yellow or purple. And then we have Waldo Soto, co-founder and director of Reciprocal Studio in 2811, and a collaborator of Patagonia Ocean Hub in Chile, who will take the purple. Yes, the purple chair.
Of course.
So the other panelist is Herland, so he's at the airport. Hopefully he can make it. But for now, we will start by giving each panelist the opportunity to give us a brief 3-minute introduction about themselves and their work. And for those in the room, and we're also live streaming, so for those who are watching at a distance, we have Slido. There you have a code, and so you can use the QR code, or you can use the number in there to send your questions. So number 25 24 412, slido.com. I'll leave it for a moment in there. So just send your questions, and we will collate them and ask them by the end of the panel. So let's start with Manu, who I forgot to mention is the founder of Ocean Visions, or one of the founders of Ocean Visions, and also the originator of GEOS, which is the program that is convening us here today. So I give it to Manu. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Leonardo, and thank you for waking up early. Some of you probably jet-lagged. What I'd like to use my time, yes, so I'm an academic. I'm an ocean climate scientist at Brown University, but I've also been involved for a very long time in trying to advance ocean solutions. And so in 2019, together with others, we co-founded Ocean Visions. Today, what I'd like to bring the attention to is the fact that there's definitely a growing innovation ecosystems with venture funds and accelerators that are growing around the world. And on this particular slide, I'm showing you one sort of depiction of what's called the 1,000 Ocean Startup, which is essentially a coalition of acceleration venture funds around the world that really have pledged under these next 10 years to develop ocean solutions. And while this is great, it's also important to recognize that just startups and sustainable business by themselves are not sufficient to really address the climate crisis. We really need to develop a more sort of systemic agenda that really allows us to inform this innovation ecosystem and create solutions that really are essentially an ecosystem of solutions. And with that said, that was really the origin of GEOS, which was to bring together a multi-sector community of experts, including researchers like myself, who often don't know how to contribute to this sort of growing innovation ecosystem, and essentially expand that ecosystem to really be more inclusive and develop sort of an inclusive agenda. And so with that in mind, if you look at this particular slide, one of the big challenges is that even in the 1,000 Ocean Startup, which is our very sort of healthy innovation ecosystem, most of these groups are really from the global north. And if we look at the global south, we really have very few representation. And yet, the solution agenda needs to be inclusive, needs to be really a collection of expert voices from around the world. And so in that sense, I think GEOS really stands an important mission in trying to really, as I put here in this talking point, fast-track a collaborative design and partnership around the world, advancing an inclusive global community from the grassroots up, and also, importantly, prioritizing voices and expertise from the global south. And so these GEOS hubs, for example, that are emerging around different countries, including Tanzania, I think Ghana, and Kenya, are really an important sort of pillar of this global ecosystem for ocean solutions. And with that, thank you very much. I pass it to whoever next.
Thanks, Manu. So now let's go to Samantha and your 3 minutes.
Hi, yes, I'm Samantha Dean. I'm co-founder of the Kelp Forest Foundation, and we are all about Africa, and we are based in Namibia. And we saw that when we were doing an innovation, which was, we were founded by Kelp Blue, and the innovation was quite pioneering. It was to grow giant kelp forests as forests. And then the Kelp Blue, what it does, it's harvested canopy and makes products like biostimulants. But to really understand what the impact and the ecosystem services were of these cultivated giant kelp forests, we needed to do a lot of research. And we needed to actually fill the gaps in the science. Why? Because nobody had done this before. But instead of being parachute scientists, we decided that that research had to be done in Namibia by Namibians. So that's why we set up the Kelp Forest Foundation, which is an NGO. And what we do is we look at this capacity building on 5 sides. We give scholarships for research. So we give scholarships for MSCs and PhDs from Namibia. We then pair them with supervisors from Namibia, but also international supervisors who are very focused on their theme, be it, for example, how does kelp cultivation affect ocean acidification? And then there is knowledge transfer from Namibia to Woodsole or Woodsole to Namibia, for example, just to give you one example. We also do on-the-job training, so we connect these silos of research with industry. So these MSCs and PhDs come to Ludritz and they work there alongside, for example, Kelp Blue. And so they really understand the whole cultivation system, not just their very small research piece within the big scope. We invest in skills development, so we try to level the playing field. A lot of these marine and ocean scientists don't know how to swim. So we start 2 steps back and we give them swimming lessons and diving lessons and ISO training. And we also want to share that knowledge and inspire others within Namibia, but also in the wider Africa. So these MSCs and PhDs also go to the local schools and do ocean awareness and monitoring talks. And they also go to conferences, and they go to conferences within Namibia, but they also go to other African countries, like the other day they were in South Africa in a phycology conference. So it's a very holistic program in that we are connecting the community with research and with industry. And we work very closely with the universities in Namibia because we give them feedback of maybe there should be a bit more strength in data analytics, and then they change their curriculum. And then they say, well, maybe we need this, for a longer period of time. So much so that after 3 years of working very closely with University of Namibia and NUST, that we are looking to introduce a 6-month course within the University of Namibia, which is about biocultivation. So it's about seaweed cultivation and other things that you can cultivate multi-trophically. And then combine that with 6 months training of on-the-job, whether it's in Kelp Blue or maybe in other seaweed growing industries. So we are on the ground in Namibia, working with Namibians, but with Namibia, with the world, because everything we do is openly and transparently shared. Nothing gets, the data, although it really stays in Namibia, it is openly shared. And then tied to innovation as well, we are introducing in Namibia not only this project pioneering, but we're also introducing new techniques that haven't been used before in Namibia or in Africa. For example, environmental DNA. So we do, big studies on the biodiversity in Namibia, which has never been done before. Or, for example, what is the blue carbon in the Namibian soils, and what is the carbon dating of all of this? So there's a lot of knowledge that is growing in Namibia. Is really going to be, proud making for Namibia and Africa. That the knowledge is being generated in Namibia and in Africa and be shared with the rest of the world.
Thank you, Samantha. That was excellent. And now I have Waldo.
Thank you, Leo. Yeah, and thank you also for Ocean Missions and the invitation. My name is Waldo. I'm the co-founder of Reciprocal Studio. Reciprocal is a venture studio or company builder where we are building and investing on climate solutions for Latin America and the Caribbean. The solutions could be based on anywhere. We truly think, for instance, between East Africa, West Africa, and Latin America, there's a great opportunity for collaboration, for instance. And also, why not maybe capturing some of the solutions from the global north to the south also. So why we decided to launch this? We launched Reciprocal the last year, 1 year ago, actually, in April. After a couple of years of crashing our heads with the issue that, like Emmanuel pretty much presented, like where the climate is affecting the most is where the solutions are more scarce, Like we see Latin America, at least in this map, now it's a bit more updated. There are 3-4 solutions there, but we see in the map that Emmanuel shared that there were no solutions actually in South America, at least in this coalition. And that's a big issue, It's a big issue, not just for the communities, but also for the future of the industry, the future of the economy, where today in Latin America and the Caribbean, 25% of the population lives actually in coastal communities. And it's a big problem also when the problem intersects with other issues, like structural challenges we have in the region. One of them is like, for instance, 70% of the workers in agriculture in the continent are women. So if we are working on blue economy, on ocean innovation, we have to consider the intersectionality of the issue, of the challenge, and not just thinking that we are working, I don't know, in the Netherlands where we have like totally different setting, totally different history background, right? Is we're working in Latin America where we have a gender challenge, where we have inequality, and we have structural problems. And the other issue is that just 1%, at least in the statistics from the coalition, the 1,000 Ocean Startup Coalition, just 1% of the funding, the climate funding, is going for ocean and seas, no? And then we have a big problem, no? We have the problem that is just growing, no? The funding that is scarce, the issues, the structural challenges in the region. So we cannot think that we're gonna solve that with just like a well-intentioned agenda, no? We really need to put, as Samantha said, our foot on the ground and really build the solutions we need. And that's the reason because we decided to start reciprocal, to start building real solutions, no solutions for the marketing, no solutions for the media, for the newspaper, real stuff, real solutions for the region from anywhere. That's what we're doing.
Thanks, Waldo. And so thank you very much for this introduction. And I'll just, on the statistics part, I think there is a very interesting one that I haven't fact-checked yet, so you can fact-check me. But recently I was in South Africa, and I heard that from the whole budget of research, for climate research, Africa as a continent is only getting around 1.5% of the entire research funding, but while at the same time it's using, or it's investing double what other countries are investing in terms of climate research. So for adaptation, for all areas of climate change, the need is perceived, it's very clear, it's a big push for climate research, but with a very, very tiny amount of the whole overall funding. So that is certainly a big issue and overall. So talking about now sharing, I have some questions for the panel, and you can pick if you feel called by it, but I will start with the issue of sharing benefits, sharing responsibilities. So we know that collaboration is, like we have established, all your presentations established, collaborations are essential for achieving complex processes and goals, like developing ocean climate solutions that are not just for the marketing, that are concrete, durable, permanent solutions. So how can collaborative efforts, or how do you say this, how can collaborative efforts distribute responsibilities and benefits across various partners, and also in a way that ensures that that there is a balance, that there is equity in this process?
For me, collaboration is key. I think researchers alone can't move the dial, industry alone can't move the dial. We need to connect the silos, and we also need to learn from each other. So what Cynthia was saying, that she's going to be sharing and trying to allow people to connect and share experiences, and what went right for you, and what was difficult, or what can we change. And that also creates awareness, and I think we need more awareness of the problems, but also of the solutions, to also have lighthouse projects. This can happen. This has worked here. This can be replicated.
Yeah, I agree, of course. The thing is, yeah, we are thinking on collaboration as a kind of, again, like well-intentioned thing since a while, no? It's like super necessary, it's like consensus. But it's difficult to collaborate when grant makers, for instance, are structuring their funding opportunities based on competition, no? And they arrive to the region with 1 million, and they make the organization, the NGOs, compete for those resources. And then comes the problem, no? It's like we are setting an entire global collaboration for this to happen, and all of a sudden, the local communities are fighting each other, the local NGOs, I think, for sure you have seen this, no? Are fighting between each other because a creative funding from somewhere, funder from somewhere, decided to put the community to compete, no? So if we really, and we can discuss on many angles here, but I'm just picking one, no, of many. If we want to really promote collaboration, I think we really have to rethink the way we do grant making, the way we fund solutions. Maybe if the problem is a different one, maybe the way we fund the problem, the solutions, has to be also a different one, a different way. That will be my spice.
So I'll add to that you know, one of the things that I think it's important to recognize about the grant makers that for a long time, for example, foundations have supported projects, but have not supported the processes that are required to co-design those processes and really encourage those partnerships. I think there is a growing number of foundations that are trying to coalesce together to actually start funding the design process that we need. So that's one, I think, important step. The other point that I'd like to make is, for example, for myself, coming from the research academic environment where competition is so brutal sometimes, it's really hard to team play. One thing that I really experienced by participating in the 1000 Ocean Startup is that collaborative and team spirit play that exists in the startup world, where people are really aligned for the mission, versus the academic culture where, you know, we're sort of, you know, this is my project, my thing. And so there are some cultural barriers also, speaking from my side, from the academic side, that need to be broken with new models so that researchers can also get more involved in projects and team play. So anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. And I'll just make it interactive. So we're getting some questions, and this one I think is very appropriate for this. So we are talking about the issue of distribution and the issue of imbalances and geographical imbalances as a given. But now, from your perspective, what are the factors that you see contributing right now to this geographical imbalance in the ocean solutions space?
Yeah, on where we find it is that most of the research, as Emmanuel very well knows, and the rest of us know, happens in the global north. That is where, you know, in the world of kelp forest, most of the kelp forests that are being researched have been near the universities in the global north. So we have to have an active action plan to really move that research south. But first, as we know, and I just mentioned, there is a level playing field also to be increased. There needs to be more funding in the universities there and more skills development there to be able to be part of that kind of research that needs to be happening in the global south. And yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to really focus really on getting the research done in Namibia by Namibians and not be kind of these colonial researchers which we come, take the data and go back to our labs in the global north and do the research there. So I think there is an activism to be done in funneling the funding towards these research institutions down in Africa, for example.
Thank you.
I guess I'll pile up on what is just said. You know, there's this issue, there's this concept of climate financing, you know, of really trying to deliver more funds for projects. And I think one challenge is how do we unlock that climate financing that is available? And hopefully things like, you know, international hubs and collaboration make, you know, some of these groups in the global south also stronger for actually receiving those funds. But here are some numbers just to keep in mind that I read recently from a report from the World Bank. So there are currently $200 billion of funding available for implementing nature-based solutions. And those $200 billion have to fight with $7 trillion of subsidies that are actually going in the opposite direction. So this is just to give you the magnitude of size. 5 trillions of that are government subsidies, and 1.7 trillions are from private industry. So that's one number to remember. The other number to remember is that when we come to investing in solutions, for now, 82% of those investments come from government, and only 12% come from innovation ecosystem like venture funds and stuff. And that equity is really where the funding, you know, a lot of the funding exists. The economy, the blue economy comes from that as well. So anyway, I don't know if this puts a little bit of perspective, but definitely funding, allocation, climate financing are still, important barriers, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, like naturally, and that's the reason because we are all here, because we are optimists, no? And I see that happening, no, in Latin America also. Like I've seen, for instance, how new specific like industry chambers, industry-led commerce chambers are also putting more focus on blue economy solutions. I've seen, for instance, how innovation awards now around 10% of the solutions are around ocean, shipping, fisheries. So I think it's growing. I think gonna be naturally it's growing to be like a big industry, and also I think naturally together with optimism, I think the companies that are being built, the solutions that are being built so far, they are maybe more resilient than other solutions from somewhere else. Like this is just an hypothesis, because they are being built under a very weak democracy, a very weak economic cycle, a very weak local capacity in terms of skills of the people. And then maybe those companies can be very impactful for the world, the companies from Latin America and the Caribbean, at least, since they are like maybe more resilient to different cycles, no? Since they are built on many challenges around. So that's something to look around, I feel, no? Like how these solutions can be spread later somewhere else, since these kind of solutions have this capacity, you know, of maybe navigating different challenges also.
Thank you, Waldo. And so I'll continue taking questions, and forgive me if the way I'm adapting some of the questions you're sending is not the best translation, but so we got this question which is about scales of the problem. So we're facing issues that we usually hear saying we need solutions that work for people and the planet people. So these two massive like gap in a scale, and also depending how we understand these concepts, of course. But how can we breach the understanding between this issue of developing solutions that work for communities, that work for the human scale, while at the same time we have such a huge challenge with the climate crisis, the ocean crisis, and that requires like massive mobilization of energy, resources, materials. So how can we bridge this, and how can we also create an understanding of this, like these stories? How do we bring this to grant makers? How do we bring this to funders in a way that we can bridge the gap if it's possible?
Well, our solution is very much seaweed based, probably the biggest untapped potential we have today. And it is one that covers people and planet. So you're growing giant kelp forests, which help sequester carbon and help biodiversity. You're harvesting the top 10%, which makes products that go to replace other more environmentally unfriendly products. And by doing that, you're creating jobs by processing. You're helping farmers to move away from synthetic fertilizers. And it is a project that was set up with that mission. So you're putting people and planet before you start looking at the business model. And you do it with a vision that it can be scalable. So you prove it, you do it at a certain scale, you grow it, you make sure that there are no, big unintended consequences, of course. But then once you prove it, then you scale it, and then you replicate it in other places. So you show the world it can be done, and then you set it up in a way that can be scaled. And you plan it in advance that it is going to be for people and planet. And then you can keep on adding to it. You can do it multi-trophically, which means that you grow the seaweed, you grow the oysters that benefit from the seaweed benefits from the oysters, or you do urchin ranching, or you add lobsters to it. And that goes to also not create just jobs and support fisheries, but add protein. So sometimes it's at the very beginning that you set up an industry or a project with that as a plan that can be scalable.
Perfect.
Okay, well, I'll take a different take. So I guess the question is, how do we scale solutions? And I think, of course, there's an understanding that we need a portfolio of solution and innovations, and that's all great. But from my perspective, and especially working in the university environment, I think education is key. Because really what we need is some leaders across the governments and business sectors that make different choices. Even though there's a lot of talking, for example, at the various COPs about, the importance of the climate and the environment, at the end of the day, there's a lot of talking and not a lot of action because decisions are not made. And so the hope here is that education, awareness, experience to the younger generation can create a new group of leaders that are going to make better choices. And that's where I put a lot of my investment as well, and that's one way I think we potentially can scale by having a collection of better choices from the next generation.
I agree.
Yeah, like kind of similar but different take also. I mean, today in the region there are like around 30 new climate accelerators being created, no? So, and that means that many new climate entrepreneurs, no, ocean entrepreneurs, ocean innovators, are gonna come out from the region, and that means, of course, in the side of solutions, like many opportunities, but on the side of the way these people create companies, no, the mindset they have to create companies, I think there is a great opportunity there also to put some attention. It's close to education, but also it's close to the leadership style. No, this is a bit abstract, but can be taught, can be teach, can be formed actually. In our way of building companies, we call it this side of our learning models is regenerative leadership. No, it's a way of leading the new companies that we need for the planet, we need for profit, and we need for the people in a different way. No? In a way we are able to collaborate with each other, we are able to connect in a systemic way with what is going on in the world, no? And in a way that we are also, in a way, truthful with the community, but also with the economy and also with the solution we're building. No? So on the side of the leadership, no, I think we have a lot to do because fisheries, like the current ocean industry, at least in Latin America and the Caribbean, naturally, because was the knowledge available in the 1980s and the 70s, the leadership in that industry is a leadership that, in a way, failed to, at least to the community, no? At least to the community, talking for southern, maybe, Latin America. And if we want to build the solutions we need for the future, maybe we have to think also on how the leadership, how the people creating the solutions have to think differently also. And today we have a lot of different tools available for that. No, it's not just abstract thing, impossible to teach. No, today we have solutions to engage differently on the way we build also the solutions.
Thanks, Waldo. And so definitely there are many issues here of like equity scales and how for example there are past experiences of using certain places as labs, and how can we do labs, how can we do experiments, how can we advance science, but in a way that is more ethical. I think that is a large challenge right now, and it's really part of the conversation. So people, planet, and the ethical components of how do we design solutions for people and planet. And now we only have a few minutes left, so I will not bring another question because I will take us over time, but I will ask you to just round up, just a minute to each of you to say anything that will help you reaffirm your point, highlight something that we haven't discussed, or really just give a piece of advice that you have saved somewhere.
Well, I think I made my points. I would like to take this minute to introduce our missing panelist, Herland, from the Ocean Hub Africa. Ocean Hub Africa is actually one of the co-founder of the 1000 Ocean startup and really one of the leading groups in Africa that is really pushing innovation and summit. And so I think, it's great to have them as partners, and it's too bad that Herland couldn't be here with us today. As for my own, closing points, I'm a researcher at heart. I'm an academic. And to me, it's really important to find ways to engage in this conversation and also action about ocean solutions. And so my big hope is that through programs like GEOS and other engagement programs, even people like us can find a way to contribute significantly and meaningfully to solutions. And there's many challenges there, and you've heard some of them today, and I'll keep working on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Manu. Samantha.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate that for me, it's not just about planet and people. I think it's planet, people, and prosperity. We have to also create these action plans where they're self-sustaining economically, because grant money will disappear and subsidies will disappear. So we have to create solutions where it involves the community, but it also creates livelihoods, blue jobs, and are self-sustaining economically. So I think that, for me, that creates a new type of industry where it's set up from the very beginning with the triple bottom line in focus, and from there you can create a systemic change, because you create other companies that see, okay, I don't just have to focus on profitability to be successful. And start looking at other measures of success as well, which is not just economically, but it's social capital, natural capital, return on inspiration. And I think that is a sort of a change in mindset that we have to start creating. And education is key, and awareness. So we invest a lot in that.
Thank you, Samantha. Well done.
Yeah, I think Harlan also arrived, so I think we're going to have him later.
So, Harlan, if you want to join us and give the 3 minutes that you were going to give at the beginning, so that we can.
Yeah.
Welcome.
And thank you for.
And also, I can stop talking, so we have more minutes for Harlan.
I mean, we will.
You know.
So, Harlan.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I overestimated the capacity of Emirates to be on time. Thank you for the invitation. I will try to make the most of these 2 minutes. So my name is Erlan Servo. I'm the managing director of Ocean Hub Africa. We are currently considered as the leading enabler of ocean impact entrepreneurship in Africa. We've been working since 2019. And basically what we do is we support in the ocean impact, we support entrepreneurs in the ocean impact ecosystem in Africa, but also we act as a connector between stakeholders of this ecosystem that is being built from the ground up. And we also invest in entrepreneurs, either most of the time indirectly, because we connect them with the right investors for them. But now also we're starting to set up our own fund to do so. So these are some impact data that we have. I'm very cautious when we talk about entrepreneurs not to focus only on highly scalable, highly innovative businesses, because this has been our core focus at the beginning, but we've also understood that if we want to achieve ocean impact at scale in Africa, we also need to support micro businesses in coastal rural areas in order to enable them to build sustainable revenue streams for themselves, and hence impacting the environment and the communities positively. So what I can do about the trends in Africa is that every year when we do call for solutions, call for applications, we see new innovators coming on the map. Actually, our next call for applications is open currently, but most of these innovations, they are working on some aspect of the ocean impact economy that is mostly circular economy, a lot of solutions against plastic pollution, for instance, aquaculture and its value chain, lots of solutions around that, and more when it comes to seaweed farming. But there is a plethora of opportunities when it comes to other sectors, such as how we leverage technology or nature-based solutions for carbon dioxide removal, how we improve ports operations, etc. And we think that coming from a continent that is full with young, brilliant minds, we think like we need to shift also the way that we work with them and see if we can work with a model where we push ideas to this business, to these brilliant minds, instead of waiting for them to come up with ideas. So this is like the model that we are building currently. And obviously, because we are here to talk about like collaboration, very soon, the reason why we've been able to achieve these impacts because collaboration is in our DNA. We co-created the 1000 Ocean Startups, which is a global network facilitating ocean impact in 2021. We were part of the first steps, but we want to do the same in Africa. We realized that being based in Cape Town, it's very hard to cover the full of Africa and to have the impact that we want at pace and at scale. So what we started to do from last year, actually, is we were selecting incubators, sector agnostic incubators across Africa. We started with Southern Africa. We selected 9 of them, and we helped them launching their own blue tech support ocean/climate nexus type of tech support programs. And I must say, like, we started that 7 months ago with 9 incubators. 6 of them already launched their own program. And all of this only with access to network, access to expertise, and they were able to go and find their own funding to do their own programs. So I think it's very important when we come to, I think our model is very applicable to the Global South. And I'm very happy, I would be very happy to see how we can collaborate on that. And it's very important that we take in mind that we only have one ocean, and I think like we should have only one ecosystem when it comes to it. Players who identifies where are the value that they bring and see how they can collaborate best to impact positively that ecosystem. I'll stop here.
Well, thank you, Herland. And I had the opportunity to attend Ocean Innovation Africa last February. It's an incredible event, and also it's one of the few events that I think that brings so many aspects of ocean innovation, and also investing in innovators from all of the continent to come to Cape Town. That was I recommend it if you have the chance to attend it next year. It's a great event. And with that, I would like to thank you for all your excellent insights and your participation today. So please, a round of applause for our panelists. And
Glad you made it.
we will have a tiny break, 7 minutes. So we will be back here at 10:40 to continue with the next panel with the Ocean Innovation Hubs, and that will be moderated by Ocean Vision's Liliana Bastian. So we will stop now and be back here in 6 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias, Leo.
Gracias.
And can I invite the panelists to come on stage? Okay. Great. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed the break. It's time to start our second panel, who are going to be sharing insights from the Ocean Climate Innovation Hubs that they're leading as part of the GEOS program, and the opportunities for ocean climate innovation that they're addressing in their regions. So Innovation Hubs are a flagship initiative of the GEOS program. We're developing networks that are meant to catalyze ocean climate solutions regionally through accelerating entrepreneurship, boosting scientific collaborations, and increasing key groups' understanding of the potential for application of emerging climate mitigation technologies and other approaches to ocean climate solutions. These hubs are meant to bring together researchers, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and community groups around the world together in a concerted effort to harness the power of the ocean for climate mitigation. But what's really important about these for me and for the GEOS program is that this is done in a way that's inclusive, and very importantly, in a way that is responsive to local needs and also responsive to local strengths. So I'm Liliana Bastion. Thank you. I'm program officer for the GEOS program. And I've had the pleasure of working with each of these panelists over the last year as they have identified the need for ocean climate innovation hubs in their regions, as they've started and in some cases completed the endorsement process with the UN Decade of Ocean Science, and as they've begun collaborative planning with many local stakeholders in their areas. These hubs, they look different in each geographic and social context, but each of them is recognizing the need and the potential for a strong blue economy as part of a climate mitigation strategy in their area. And each is doing really exciting work to build ocean innovation ecosystems locally and then become part of this broader global movement. So I'm really happy to invite to the stage, can I have Catalina Reyes Vargas of Universidad de los Andes and the Columbia Ocean Innovation Hub. Can you sit in the orange chair? Thanks. Dr. Miriam Swale of the Kenya Ocean Climate Innovation Hub. Can you sit in the yellow chair? Thank you. Peter Te Busumpra of the Ghana Ocean Climate Innovation Hub and the Ghana Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development. And then Marilyn Valverde Salas of the Blue Economy Coalition for Ocean Climate Solutions and Mar y Comercio. Unfortunately, Shamim Wasinianda of the Tanzania Ocean Climate Innovation Hub is unable to be here today. So as before, I want to give everyone a chance here to navigate to the Slido so before we lose this and move on to their slides. But as you listen to their presentations, feel free to send questions there and make use of the upvote feature so that we can see what's most important to people. Everyone is going to start with a brief introduction, about 3 minutes and 1 slide, and then I have a few questions to kick us off before we spend the last 15 minutes on audience Q&A. And during this Q&A portion, I'm going to invite Harlan back up to the stage so that he can have a chance to participate in the discussion. So with that, Catalina, tell us about your Ocean Climate Innovation Hub.
Well, thank you for having me. I come from one of the most biodiverse, if not the most biodiverse place on Earth. But Colombia has always neglected its own oceans. And ironically, the poorest communities live there with plenty of different problems to tackle at a time. So from 2016, I have been working with probably the the most impressive mentor and one of the brightest minds in the country, who has always come up with innovative solutions based on oceans. And that's why we have been working from research to policy engagements from many years ago. We have highly resilient ecosystems in both of the oceans, the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans in Colombia, that wouldn't even be affected by both cumulative climate events or extensive and extreme climate events. So we need to actually understand their complexity in order to find innovative solutions to tackle the whole problem. We identified several kinds of necessities and opportunities within our country that I would summarize as three things. First, we need to validate our scientific discoveries, our scientific approaches. I've been working with the Laboratorio de Biología Molecular Marina, or Molecular Marine Laboratory at the Universidad de los Andes, which is the host of the Ocean Innovation Hub in Colombia, the most prestigious university in Colombia, who is actually the brightest ally we can ever have to host this pioneer opportunity in the country. Second, we have to gather all the official data of our seafloor. We don't even have the accessible data right now to understand the complexity of such ecosystems. And the third one is we need to organize our own marine biodiversity database. We're working on that, but of course we need to gather as many stakeholders as possible to make that an idea that comes to reality. So we have a lot of public policies in Colombia. We are a very organized country from within, but we are not capable to operationalize them in a clear way. So this is a clear necessity we have identified with the Dr. Juan Armando Sanchez, which is the co-founder of the Innovation Hub, and we need to implement them in a very organized way in order to understand what would be the whole starter pack to understand how innovation would come to the table. And what we propose is the solution, or the perfect environment to understand those challenges and become those challenges into an opportunity for innovation, and to, of course, restore our healthy, or our used to be healthy ecosystems in Colombia. So we delivered the first workshop to gather all the possible stakeholders, you can see in the slide, to co-design the hub 1 month ago. We decided to host the discussion in an academic environment, to gather the perspective and to center the focus on real innovation rather than politicized discussions, which is very common in my country. And we are working on 3 potential projects right now to integrally address such complex problem that involves, of course, social issues, economic issues, and political issues at a time. So yeah, I'm happy to present the Ocean Innovation Hub to all of you. We are, I think, the youngest innovation hub from the GEOS program. But yeah, I hope I can bring you more insights in the next months. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catalina. Miriam.
I am Dr. Mariam Swale. I'm a researcher from Kenya, and my main area of research is in the marine environment. So I've had the opportunity to work with the community as well as in the lab to look at some of the solutions that are affecting the coastal communities in Kenya as well as the marine environment. So I am so excited about our Ocean Climate Innovation Hub, and being selected or leading this project, it's something that is very important to me. because of many factors, apart from me being a marine scientist. And it has come at a right time when Kenya, the new government in Kenya has introduced the Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime, Maritime, as well as Kenya is the first African country to bring action when it comes to climate change and setting up policies related to climate change. So I feel this Ocean Climate Innovation Hub in Kenya has come at a very good time. So our focus area is innovation and research, blue economy, climate change adaptation for the communities that depend on the ocean, as well as education and training. I've been a lecturer in the university for the for quite a number of years, and our university, which is based at the coast, Technical University of Mombasa, is the lead institute for this project because our university main area of focus is in the maritime area, and we do a lot of research when it comes to the marine environment. So we've started some work. Our hub was launched last year, but we don't have any funding currently, but we are not waiting for funding. We're using the resources that we have. Being a lecturer at the university and a researcher, we have labs and we have collaborations with different institutes that are willing to work with us in coming up with some of these solutions. So I'm also working with some of my students, masters and undergraduate students, to develop some of these solutions with the hope that if we get potential investors, we can scale them up. So we are working on collaboration with different partners. We found some partners, so we are also working on research and innovation. So some of the research areas that we are able to do now with no funding and the resources we have is biochar from marine rock or marine waste. There's a lot of marine organic waste that is found on the shores, which is a menace or a problem to hotel owners. So we are trying to combat that into biochar, possibly which will help with the conservation efforts that coastal communities are doing. Apart from that, we're looking into renewable energy because from one of the research work that we did last year, we saw that the forest that we looked at, the mangrove forest, a big percentage of it, the trees were cut down for fuel and firewood, and you cannot really blame people because most of it happened during COVID, and that's their source of livelihood. There is no fish. Because of climate change, the temperatures in the ocean are too high, and communities who depend on fisheries have experienced, they're really struggling, I would say, because apart from that, they're already living in poverty, and because they depended on fishing or fish for their livelihood. But because of climate change, the waters are too hot, there's no fish. They need to find for alternatives. So we are looking into coming up with simple solutions, like developing briquettes from the marine waste or agricultural waste. A lot of coastal communities are farmers, and most of the time they just burn after harvesting, like maize, they just burn it. So we're looking at how can they convert that, as well as other waste material, excuse me, into renewable energy, whether it's briquettes or biogas. Then another area of research we're looking at is the use of sargassum, because most of the time, people in the coast of Kenya, they grow seaweed for export. like 90% is exported. There's no value addition. There are two main species, but we also want to look at sargassum for also value addition because it's just on the shores. So one of my students is developing a product, a skincare product from antioxidants from sargassum. And speaking of value addition, that's to these seaweed farmers, we have a community currently. They need sheds for drying their seaweed produce, and that's an area we're not able to support. But we would want to support them so that they can increase capacity and also add value to their products because they're already producing lotion and soap from the seaweed, but then they can't do much because their produce is getting destroyed because they can't dry it properly. And another thing that we're looking into is, under mariculture is still fisheries. There's so many challenges for coastal communities when it comes to fisheries. So there are some communities that have fish ponds and they do cage fishing, but because of climate change, they can't get the waters are too hot. They can't get these seeds, these small fish. They harvest them from the mangrove forest so that they can grow them in the fish ponds. Right now, it's very difficult. The water is too hot. And then other challenges, so we're thinking about hatcheries and also supporting them with simple things like solar, what is it? Solar fridges for storing, solar coolers, something like that, for storing their produce because they experience a lot of loss because as a result of they harvest, their access to markets is low. So I could talk on and on. There are so many projects we want to explore, but because of limited funding, we just do what we can. We say we don't wait for funding to come. Funding will come to us because we're already developing solutions. So thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. Okay, Peter, tell us about Ghana.
My name is Peter Tebusompra. I'm a fisheries officer at the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development. But my main role is the digitalization of the ocean. So with the hub, we started the hub mostly around June. So we had a meeting, a once meeting, and then we all meet and we say, okay, we want to establish this hub to address the UN Ocean Decade Challenge 5. That's unlock ocean-based solutions to climate change. So we have already applied for the UN Ocean Decade endorsements under the GEOS program. And then we are currently partnering with 51 stakeholders across 7 West African countries. We want to start it in Ghana and replicate it in different West African countries. So we are already partnering with them. So if we start the whole thing in Ghana, we can replicate it in different countries. And then we have already have our own hub work plan, and then also strategies in carbon removal. So I'm going to use technology also in removing carbon dioxide. So we will also try maybe plantation of mangroves, plantation of aquatic plants to sequester a lot of carbon dioxide. And we may use the IoT, Internet of Things, and to check how much carbon dioxide we are sequestering and also sell it as maybe carbon credits for carbon financing. And then we have already received some few fundings from, I recently won the Ocean Tribute Award. So we are currently waiting for some funding, which I've already received like 10% of the funding we plan for the hub establishment. So we'll start something, we'll start from the mangroves plantation also. And then we also have our hub also established now as an NGO. We have established the hub as an NGO, which is to be operating in the laws of Ghana, because we don't want it to be like, let me say, something that cannot operate within the jurisdictions of Ghana. So we went for the documentations and get everything established in Ghana now. So this slide is just the range of the stakeholders. You can see most of the stakeholders are from Ghana, because Ghana will be the focal point for the establishment of the hub After we are done, then we'll let it be replicated across, let me say, across West Africa. So thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and last but not least, Marilyn, tell us about your hub.
Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you. I want to thank IUC UNESCO for facilitating the resources for me to be here today, and for to Ocean Visions for the support in the mentorship to tackle this thing. So I'm a customs administration and foreign trade professional. That's not really ocean. We do maritime shipping. But basically, that was it, right? So when I was in university, I studied in a campus in the Pacific, which is basically a ghost town. And living there, I got a grasp and experience that basically will be the secret sauce to make this hub a success. They say failure is the mother of innovation, so I will hope to very briefly share some of my failures with you. So far, we just got the endorsement from IUC UNESCO 2 weeks ago, so it's pretty fresh. This hub was born out of an informal conversation with IUC and Ocean Visions during the Ocean conference in Panama last year, and where we talked about the necessity to harmonize the blue economy sector in Central America and the Caribbean. I mean, globally, but coming from my region. And it was a very empowering moment. And then 2 weeks later, in the Caribbean, in the jungle at night, I suffered a threat. That was like the 5th time. So in my region, it's a very complex context, because we are developing. We are currently, as of 2 days ago, one of our beaches is the most expensive beach, or in general, place to visit in the world. It's highly gentrified. So we have a lot of foreign investment that is coming, but it's having a negative impact in the coastal communities. Of course, impacting the ecosystems, because foreigners are getting into the decision-making groups, and that means taking decisions on water, basically just putting in danger the zoning, let's say, of vulnerable areas in coasts, where you have mangroves and other different important species and dynamics within the communities that basically make our work a little bit harder. But basically, on the progress, so for by the end of this month, we aim to launch the business case of why we need to do this. Just last Thursday in Costa Rica, there were 2 innovation hubs launched at the same time, basically the same hour. One funded by the US government with a budget of $80,000 for a climate innovation hub, and then one in a university, on the University of Costa Rica, basically from that innovation department. And there's also another just a climate innovation hub in general with an NGO. So we have 3 climate innovation hubs in one country. This is the only ocean one, though. So it's very interesting, because if we talk about blue economy and all of the stakeholders that have to do with it, you get fisheries, and that Costa Rica has untapped potential. We're 92% ocean, but we don't really manage our fisheries. We have very little exercises of mariculture, but it's still very incipient. We do have a history of basically depreding our mangroves due to shrimp farming, and that is something that mostly funded by NGOs. It's been tackled at the moment, but what we're seeing is that in this effort, there is a like a mix of contrary things that should be aligned, but they're not. They compete. So after we launch the business case, what we will do is reach out to these hubs because we want to work with everyone and all the universities and stakeholders in the region and all across the Caribbean. We have a Central American system that basically aligns policy, and that is why it's easier to go regionally. Also, we have CARICOM, and Costa Rica has also a food in the Caribbean. That's kind of like the way of getting people involved. By next year, we aim to have like a secretariat or body that makes decisions. That by the end of the decade, we aim to action on the roadmap. If you scan here, you're gonna get to the email of the business case. This is a live document, so I would want to have your feedback, and that's the form for you to access the way for you to get involved with the hub. So I don't know if I'm running out of time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have a lot of things that you will never probably experience, but will be very useful for your work that I can share later.
Thanks, Marilyn. Great. Well, thanks everyone for sharing about your Ocean Climate Innovation Hubs. We have just a little bit more than 10 minutes to get into questions. And Harlan, can I invite you back up on the stage so you can participate in this? Let's see. All right. So I'll start out with one question, and then we can move on to some that are coming in from the audience. The first one that I want to ask is, you each touched on the drivers of innovation in your region. And for Maryland, it was really interesting because it was sort of the failure, which was like driving further progress. So I want to know more about that. How did you identify drivers of innovation in your region? And what strategies are you hoping to use to leverage them as you move forward with your work?
I will be very concise. Like, I have two main drivers on my head right now. First is local communities' knowledge. That's the most precious asset we have as Colombia, because we lean on Black communities, indigenous communities, and local communities who are always in charge of generating innovative solutions to their own struggles. So I think that's the most valuable asset we can have, and we are hopefully engaging with them during the development of the three projects we have in mind. And the second one is, of course, our fantastic, fabulous biodiversity. We have so many genetic resources to research, to discover, to handle, to exploit in the better sense of that word. And we must use it. So we need to really understand the complexity we do have as an opportunity to come up with the most challenging, the most challenging solutions that we can actually bring to the whole world. I think Colombia would be an innovation hub not only for a region, but for the whole world. We host the most valuable asset we do have, which is the genetic resource. And hopefully this discussion will be taking place, for example, at the COP16 in Colombia, at the COP30 in Brazil, and hopefully at some point in Chile with the BBNG agreement as well.
Amazing. Thank you. So I think we just have time for one more response to that question. Is there someone who wants to take that?
Do you want to take it?
No, that's...
I think, outrage, optimism, but definitely I'm a solo female founder in Central America that has, if you don't know, maybe context, well, that's very hard. And we are so behind in basic policy, in basic tools, infrastructure, that we have to take that as an opportunity because we're running out of time. Communities are having a hard time. And if there is no way that we can conserve without communities, without getting people involved, and honestly, conservation, at least from in my country, has always come from the communities. So the drivers of innovation are the same communities, because not even the government. They are the ones that reach out to the government and say, hey, we need to do this. And in many times, NGOs that have done a great work, Conservation Costa Rica, there has also been a lot of mistakes that have put coastal communities in a not trusting environment to NGOs, because they have experienced the extractivism and that colonialism from all that funding coming from the global north, and that really extrapolates in how things work, how methodology is applied, how the ethos and vision of is streamlined down to how things are actioned upon. So I think just the reality of everyday life in communities drives innovation, because there's just no other option to survival.
Great point. Thanks. So I'm going to ask the most recent question from the audience. Is it realistic that large-scale ocean solutions like marine carbon removals could be trialed and implemented in Africa and Latin America with local capacity? And Harlan, maybe you could start.
I will link it to the previous question as well.
Okay.
I think one main drivers of innovations in Africa is definitely our youth. We have a youth that is better trained, have more access to technology, are experiencing at the forefront of everything that's going bad in their communities. And I always say that, like, you get the ability to innovate when you experience firsthand the type of problems that you need to tackle. So with that being in mind, it's also a youth that is also, let's say, knows that to be realistic, any information that would work in Africa should be innovations that are affordable. And I think, like, if to answer the second question, I still think, and I'm very hopeful as well, otherwise I would not have been here. I'm very optimistic. I'm optimistic that, like, yes, Africa can come up with innovations for carbon dioxide removal at scale. Would it be the most cutting edge and innovative type of technology? I don't think so. Do we need cutting edge and innovative technology to achieve carbon dioxide removal at scale? I also don't think so. It's also, I think sometimes we need to see innovation more as how we innovate the process of doing things, or the process to convince people to get into a movement, or the process on how we sell some type of services and or products, instead of just focusing on the biotechnology aspect, the like highly tech savvy or very, let's say, a deep tech kind of focus of innovations, because this is not the route that we will have to go in Africa to tackle that challenge, because it's not going to work. We don't have the market for that.
Thank you.
And I would also like to add something. I agree. I agree with what he said, but also when we look at innovation, we have to balance, especially when it comes to Africa. We are experiencing other problems, yeah, apart from climate change, but I mean, people are still dying from hunger, and there's no water, clean water to drink or to use. Education is still a problem in some African countries. So it's important to be realistic and also to balance three things: biodiversity, adaptation, and the carbon. Carbon removal is important, but it has to be balanced with, are we protecting our biodiversity? Because we depend on biodiversity for our livelihoods. And adaptation, is this innovation helping us? And here when I speak about community, I mean everyone, because like from Mombasa, it's not just indigenous people. There's so many people. It's a really vibrant town or city. Sorry, it's a city. So is that innovation relevant to us, and is it helping communities adapt to climate change?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. And then we actually have to start closing the panel, but I just wanted to give Peter a chance to respond.
Okay, I would like to respond to the first question. The drivers. By the way, I'm a local fisherman, so my main driver started for being a fisherman. So when I used to fish, and then now we are recording just low catch, small juveniles. And so these are the issues we are facing. So that was my main driver, because I work with my people, my fishermen. We go to fishing, we catch just small fishes. So that was the main driver. And then for us to, let me say, make money out of it, we need to also add a bit of technology in the sense that maybe cultivation mangroves or sargassum, just to sequester carbon dioxide. But we need to send it to carbon accounting or carbon crediting, which will have to include IoT or include technology or include satellite images. So that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Let's give a big round of applause for these great panelists. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. Chances to meet in person and talk about ocean climate innovation, talk frankly about failure and successes don't come every day. So for me, the chance to convene experts from 9 countries to talk about this topic is a really, really special way to start out the Ocean Decade Conference this week. So I appreciate all of our participants. And for me, this dialogue highlighted a few things that I just wanted to touch on to close. First of all, the common recognition that climate change is the biggest threat to the well-being of the ocean and the people who depend on it, and then the importance of collaboration and relationship building in addressing that. Something else that stood out to me was that solutions really go beyond these technologies to encompass things like national education systems, availability of finance, and all of the enabling factors that allow the seeds of an innovation ecosystem to grow into something bigger. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and contributing to that today. I think these speakers really exemplify a growing kind of ground-up attention to ocean climate solutions by a creative and what I think is a hopeful global community. So before we close, I just want to talk about the GEOS Project Network. So in the last year, Leonardo mentioned this a little bit earlier, but through its involvement with the Ocean Decade and the different initiatives and people that connects us with, the GEOS Project has grown from 4 projects in 4 countries to now 12 projects in 11 different countries, which you see here. And we expect the network to continue growing through the endorsements of Ocean Decade Calls for Action 6 and Call for Actions number 7, which is opening up on April 15th. This network is a really powerful opportunity to document regional approaches to ocean climate solutions and innovation and learn from those who are leading these innovation efforts around the world. So we hope to co-design the activities of this network with project leads over the next year. But today, I just want to formally welcome our 8 most recently endorsed projects. Those are Arctic Reflections in the Netherlands, Sanctuary Reef in Tanzania, the Sargasso Sea Project in the UK, Aqua NBS in Denmark, the Marine Management and Climate Project in Norway, and then, of course, Ocean Climate Innovation Hubs in Costa Rica, who we heard from today, Patagonia, and Tanzania. So I welcome those projects to the network and invite anybody with a relevant project who's interested in joining to get in touch with us for the next call for endorsement. So with that, huge thanks to all the speakers and panelists for being here, as well as the attendees who probably sifted through a ton of different satellite events and chose to be here this morning. Thank you so much. As well as to our co-hosts, ECOP Africa and the Africa Ocean Decade Task Force. And then finally, the Scientific Committee on Ocean Research for support for some of the ECOPs who joined us on the panel today. So thanks everyone, and feel free to stay in touch with us.